Yeah, soldiers, it's your boy the HGSS Champion video, and this is what Deku has Spiderman's Powers Part 3. It has been a while since I updated this series, but it was when I was going through some stuff, but now I'm back on the grind, so let's get to it. I've got some other videos coming very soon to get hyped, such as Legacy Chapters 17 from 19, and What If Naruto is Half Hyuga, Half Uchiha Part 2, which, by the way, the latter will be coming out probably either tomorrow or Saturday, so get ready for that. And there's some other stuff I have saving up as well, such as What If Goku was in Naruto, which, don't worry, there's going to be something special there. And some other stuff in between, such as MHA fan figurines and Dragon Ball fan figurines, so I guess stay tuned for when those come out. Alright, now let's get to the usual stuff. Watch the community tab like a hawk as you guys get vid updates, polls, the ability to select what ifs you want for the week, and some other fun stuff in between, so again, watch the community tab like a hawk. Check my Patreon, I have some extra words you can get to support me financially, the links will be in the description. And also go check out my Twitch. They do my podcast streamer there, so link to that will be in the description as well. And it's now time for some quick social media plugs. Where's at my stage 4, Instagram @my_stage 4, and of course join my Discord server. And I'm gonna give you all reasons to follow / join us at the end of the video, so watch until the end. And now it's time to end off the usual checklist by saying this: if you haven't seen the last part, the links will be in the description. And if you haven't seen the series at all, check out the playlist. And with all out of the way, let's get right into the story. In the last part, we went over Deku and his adventures at UA as he went for the quirk apprehension test, and we also introduced a new character into MHA and Harry Osborn. We also saw a trouble kid being offered some power from a group of men in suits. The kid would be at first weary of these men, but he doesn't have much to lose, so he'll follow the men and see what they want to offer him. And by the way, I had a comment on why I introduced Spider-Man characters into MHA, and again, I will keep reiterating this. A story where Deku does nothing but get powers from X character is kind of boring to me. You gotta have different twists to it if you get what I'm saying. And why waste the potential of something like this when MHA has so much potential to add all these villains and characters? Can't be wasting potential out here, or in other words, we can't be like the HGSS clan. Anyways, we see the kid walk into the lab. He sees the beautiful interior of the building with nice stairs, paintings, and other decorations. And then the men will ask him to follow them to the elevator. The teen will comply with this, and he'll go to the elevator, and he'll be taken to an underground lab with the men. Inside the lab, there are some scientists at work, and in the middle of the lab, there's a man in a chair. The men in suits will say, "We have someone here for you, Kingpin." The teen raises an eyebrow. Who is this Kingpin person? The Kingpin will turn his chair around, and he will say to the teen, "So, you're Cosme, huh?" And by the way, yes, I will incorporate my own OCs into this, as they will play the role of Spider-Man villains for the series, because it is much less of a headache than having to make identities for every single Spider-Man villain that's out there, which there's plenty of, and then trying to see how that would make sense in the story. I've already done it for Aunt May and Uncle Ben. I don't want to do it for all these villains, so I'm gonna try to implement new OCs that would happen to be potentially in MHA, and, you know, potentially make them the new villains of the series. Anyways, Cosme will say, "How do you know my name?" Kingpin will say, "I have been studying you for quite a while. I know that you aren't necessarily the strongest student out there. You don't even have a powerful quirk. You tried to get into UA because you admire All Might, and now you are here, in the basement of a laboratory, wondering what I can offer you to not be the loser that you are." Cosme at first will take offense to that, but the Kingpin will then say, "Oh, are you going to say that you're not a loser? A loser would not fail the UA entrance exam when they really wanted to get in. A loser would not allow themselves to be bullied because you have a weaker quirk than them. A loser would not consistently disappoint their parents. You are a loser. Don't try to deny it." Cosme will then look down on the floor as he realizes the Kingpin is telling him the truth. Cosme will then ask, "Can you tell me who you are?" Kingpin will say, "I can't tell you everything about me, but I will give you some basics. First, my name is Kingpin. I run this little operation, and I help this very powerful villain named All For One." Cosme gets back a bit and will say, "Villain? So you're all criminals." Kingpin will say, "You could say that." Cosme will say, "Then why should I accept anything you offer me?" Kingpin will answer, "Because what do you have left, really? I'm aware you are not doing well at your new school, as it is the same as you have already experienced in life, but worse. What choice do you have to keep this so-called moral code and remain the failure you are? Don't make me laugh." Cosme then realizes this man has a point. What does he really have to lose? If this man can offer him something to help turn his life around, is he really that bad? Cosme will then say, "Alright, I'll listen to you, go on." Kingpin will say, "The work I do for All For One is very simple. I use his powers and my team of scientists to construct powerful quirks, and the quirks will one day be used for whatever purpose he sees fit. But of course, he would like to have some test subjects, and you're perfect, since you really have nothing to lose. Let me show you the quirks I have so far. He grabs, then opens a container, and he will show crystals that are inside glass containers. There are 3 of them. Cosmo will say, these are crystals. Kingpin will say, correction, crystals that contain quirks. When you take the crystal out and crush it, you will be given the quirk that's inside these crystals. And these quirks are not just regular quirks. They are quirks that contain multiple abilities inside of them. What's more is that these quirks far surpass the powers of most heroes out there. All except one. All Might. Cosme is shocked. A power that can surpass so many heroes, even Endeavor, it can surpass All Might, but who cares? It's All Might. Cosme will ask, is there a side effect to these crystals? Kingpin will then say, no. You'll also be able to keep the quirk forever. The power is not temporary. The only catch is you will lose the quirk you already have. Think of it as being reborn. Cosme pauses for a bit and will look at one of the crystals, and he will see a light blue crystal. What does this crystal have? Kingpin smiles and will say, a powerful electric quirk that gives you enhanced strength, speed, and powers of electricity, and more. Cosme will think and will say, I like this crystal. Cosme will take the crystal, and then the Kingpin will say, good, you have made your choice. Now go home and then crush the crystal. Don't let your parents worry about you, you know. Cosme will nod and then say goodbye to Kingpin, and will be escorted out the building. Kingpin will have this evil grin on his face. Soon, I will complete my plans, and All For One's plans, of course. He will have a group of powerful villains at his command, and he can complete his plans of crushing All Might and destroying Hero Society, the Kingpin says. He then says to himself, and then when the dust has settled, I can complete my plans of taking him down and become the ruler of this world. What Cosme does not know is that accepting one of those quirks is the equivalent of making a deal with the devil. You will feel amazing results and will ascend to greatness. When the devil has to collect, he will collect. Only it will not cost him his life. It will cost him whatever goodness is in his heart. And he will want nothing but destruction of pure society and the world to be brought to its knees. You will no longer be Cosme, but something else entirely. Get ready. Meanwhile, Cosme will run home, go to his room, and will stare at what he has. He looks at the container and takes out the crystal, thinking this will be the end of having a useless quirk. This will be the end of the suffering. This will be the end of the failure in his life. Cosme crushes the crystal, and he feels a surge of power come through him. He will feel all this power go through him, and then there will be a silent scream that escapes from his lips, and then there will be a change in his eyes to a blue color, and then will erupt into blue lightning as his eyes become electric. Then his eyes will return to normal, and you will feel something different about him. He feels that it has worked, and he feels unstoppable. He can't wait to test it on those bullies. Meanwhile, back with Deku and company, Deku has actually become good friends with Harry Osborn, but not only that, he's also becoming friends with a lot of people in his new school and loves life there. He has also been trained with his powers and feels like nothing in his life could go wrong at this moment in time. Or as someone who has spy senses, he has a weird suspicion things are going to get really bad for him. He can't figure out why it would be bad for him, but the feeling is there. He will decide to talk to Aizawa about this, as he is his homeroom teacher, and since he's a veteran hero, he probably will understand his plight. Aizawa, when he hears this, will say, you have a bad feeling something bad is coming? Deku nods and will say, things in my life have been going very well, but then again, things were going well before my Uncle Ben died. I have been getting along with people, and I love UA, but I can't shake this feeling something bad is going to happen soon. I don't know what to do about it. Do I leave it be, or what? As I will say, you seem to be conscious of when good things happen to you because of what happened to your uncle, which is flawed. Bad things will not happen just because things are going well for you. You should not assume that. Though I do understand being a hero and being on high alert, so I will commend you for that. But if you believe that at a certain point something bad will happen to you, especially when you are enjoying life, you're not really going to enjoy your life at all. You are only, 14 to 15 years old? You can't and shouldn't live like that. Deku listens and thinks himself that he's an idiot, and he realizes Aizawa was right. Deku will say, "I see. Thank you, Mr. Aizawa." Aizawa will say, "No problem, and if something does come, I'm sure you or other heroes will be ready to face it. Now go home. I need a nap." Deku will go home, no longer clouded by these fears. The next day, Deku will go to class, and there will be something that All Might introduces to everyone in the class called the Battle Trial. Everyone will be intrigued, and everyone will be tasked with following All Might and going in their costumes for this battle trial. Deku looks at his costume, and if you look very closely, it looks very identical to the costume of certain friendly neighborhood. I'll let you finish that. Anyways, Deku will catch some of his classmates' eyes as his costume is fire, and Ochako will go up to him and compliment his costume. Deku will thank her and will smile at her, and she will slightly blush. All Might will then tell everyone how the battle trial will work. 2 teams of 2 will fight each other, one playing the role of heroes, the other playing the role of villains. They'll be tasked with using teamwork and quirks to beat the other team. The villains will be tasked with making sure that the heroes don't touch their nuclear weapons, while the hero team is trying to stop the villain team from using his nuclear weapons. Hero team wins if they are able to touch the bomb, while the villain team wins if they can stop the hero team from touching the bomb before time runs out, or one of the teams win if they just defeat the other team. All Might will then select teams, and Deku will end up being paired with Ochako. Ochako will say that she's glad that she's on Deku's team, and Deku shares the same thoughts. Everyone else is paired with someone else, and then All Might will select which team faces who. All Might will draw 2 balls containing a letter, and one is an A and the other is a D. So it is Ochako and Deku versus Bakugo and Ida. Deku will look towards Bakugo and will nod him, and he will nod back, and both teams will begin playing out their plans. Meanwhile, Cosme will be using his newfound powers on his bullies, and his bullies are shocked he has this much power. Where did it come from? And why does it seem like he became darker and, dare they say, evil in a day? A teacher sees this and tells Cosme to stop, but Cosme does not want to stop. So the teacher will use her sleep quirk to stop him, and it works as he does fall asleep. When he wakes up, he is in the car of his parents, both of them angry at him. They tell him he is in a lot of trouble and the school has suspended him. Cosme cannot believe this, as he had been bullied for who knows how long, but now that he fights back, he's the one who gets punished. It makes no sense at all. His parents don't want to hear it, as they won't tell him that he will head to his room and they will discuss his punishment later. They'll head home and Cosme will go to his room and will feel that everything is not fair. His classmates are against him, his teachers are against him, and his parents are against him. He feels like the whole world is against him. He then starts thinking, if the whole world is against me, then I should fight against the world. Cosme will then make the decision to find Kingpin and see if he can help him in some way. But first, he must kill those who are against him. He leaves his room, and his parents question why he's out of his room, and then he fires up his electricity. His eyes with blue light color going, but they are much darker. Next thing you know, screams are heard throughout the house. Back to Deku and friends. Deku and Ochako begin the battle trial, and will fight Bakugo and Ida. Deku and Ochako will come with a different plan compared to canon, as Bakugo isn't necessarily the same character he was in the beginning of MHA, as he likes Deku a bit more here in this canon, so Deku will take that into account, and both Ochako and Deku will just go straight on into the room where the weapon is being held, and Deku can just use his spider webs to essentially tie them up and leave them immobile, and Ochako and Deku can just touch the weapon and win. So both Deku and Ochako will enter the building and will have a decent time going for the building, and when they reach the room, Bakugo and Ida will be there, and Bakugo will go on and attack Deku head on. Deku will block Bakugo and be pushed back as he senses him using Spidey senses, and Ochako seeing this wants to help her teammate, but Deku will tell her to go on ahead. Deku will then kick Bakugo off of him before he fires off an explosion in his face, and then the fight truly begins. Deku will be able to dodge Bakugo very easily and will trap him in webs and will punch him in the face, knocking him out. Deku will say to a knocked out Bakugo, "You fought well, Bakugo, but I just am stronger than you. Hopefully you get stronger in the future. Now it's time for me to help out my teammate." Deku then goes into the room where Ochako is. Ida has been putting her on the ropes because Ochako has no objects to use for her quirk. However, Deku knows that they have one as far as off his webs to stop eating his tracks and encase him in webbing, and then Ochako touches the weapon. The hero team wins. All Might was impressed with Deku there, as he definitely showed why he was more advanced than a lot of his peers there. Ochako also did decently despite not having much to work with. Boku had a decent approach to dealing with Deku, and his quirk is definitely powerful. And Ida definitely was the second best performer in this match, as he was able to neutralize Ochako's quirk to an extent, and if Deku hadn't been Bakugo, the villains could have won. This year's class definitely has some very good prospects. The rest of the matches will happen and everyone does their thing. Harry Osborn would team up with Moyari Rosu during their match against Denki and Jiro, and they would smack them because Harry seems to have a very powerful telekinesis quirk that can even create a shield that stops lightning. Deku will congratulate Harry, and Harry will thank Deku, and will tell him he was great during his match too. Deku will thank Harry for that, and later on everyone will head home, and Deku will head to sleep. Meanwhile, Kazumi will head back to Kingpin, his eyes darker and seeming much more different than he was before the crystal. He will go down the elevator and then Kingpin will greet him saying, "So, you have come back." Kazumi will look at Kingpin and will say, "Yes. Yes, I have." Kingpin will then say, "Why?" Kazumi will say, "Because I can't go back now. I can't go back to life I once had." Kingpin will smile inwardly but will say, "Why not? What happened?" Kazumi will say, "I killed them. I killed both my parents." Kingpin will be laughing maniacally on the inside, but will say, "Why did you kill your parents?" Kazumi will say, "Because they were against me. They always have been against me. It only took me getting this power to realize this. Because they were against me, I killed them." Kingpin will say, "Oh really? Well, I guess that can't be helped. You did what you thought was right, so I'm not going to judge you." Kazumi will then start gathering some power and will say, "And you know what I realize? This world is against me, and it needs to pay for that. Everyone needs to pay for what has happened to me. I want to put the world on its knees. I want this entire world to suffer for what it has done to me. If this world had not given me this bad star in hand, I would not have killed my parents. If this world had not given me such a bad star in hand, I would have been able to achieve my dreams." And Kazumi starts getting angry and will unleash more power in the area. "That fact pisses me off!" The Kingpin is awestruck of this new Kazumi, as he is better than he could have ever imagined. Kingpin will say, "Well, how are you going to bring the world to its knees?" Kazumi will power down and say, "I want your help. I will do what you ask. Just help me achieve my goals." Kingpin will smile evilly and will say, "Okay then, I will help you. First, let me introduce you to that pod over there." Kazumi will say, "That's it?" Kingpin will say, "Yes. What that pod will do is help you reach the full potential of your quirk very early, because as of right now, you are a fledgling with your quirk. This pod will allow you to reach the full capabilities of your quirk, though you'll be stuck in there for a day or two." Kazumi will nod and will say, "Okay, I trust you." Kazumi will go into the pod and he will step inside and essentially hibernate inside that pod, and the Kingpin will just smile, as they now have a villain that surpasses most heroes. But what Kazumi doesn't know is that while All Might can beat him, doesn't mean that he will, especially since he is weaker now. Things are going according to plan, though there are two potential nuisances that could stand his way. This kid Mirio, who just got one for all, and this boy named Izuku Midoriya, who seems to be a very interesting prospect with his spider powers. Kingpin knows those two will be hard to deal with, and while Mirio has one for all, Deku may have more potential than him because the abilities of a spider are not to be underestimated. And Deku cannot have his quirk removed because he doesn't have a quirk. He just has the powers of a spider. And that means the only way to defeat him is just to outright kill him, which is where Kazumi comes in. But whether or not he can beat Deku, that is undecided at the moment. But the battle will at least be very interesting. The next day, Deku will look at his phone and will look at today's reports. He then spots one story that interests him for some reason, titled "2 Parents Dead, Teen Missing." Deku reads the report and will see the parents died due to a quirk that seemed to shock them to death. Their teenage son is also missing. The reports then go on to say if you have any information on where the teen is, to call the police immediately. Deku is kind of mad that some villain could go so low as to kill someone's parents and then kidnap their kid. Oh, if only he knew. Deku will then head to school, but if he had waited 1, maybe 2 seconds longer, he would have seen an update to that report. When Deku gets to class, Aizawa will tell him about the class representative elections for president and vice president, respectively. Deku will be intrigued and wonders if he will win one of those spots. Aizawa will announce the winners, and Deku and Momo will win the election, Deku being president and Momo being vice president. Deku is shocked, but everyone congratulates him, and he is pretty happy right now. Life is going very well for him, and nothing bad has happened yet. Aizawa seems to have been correct, and if something does happen, who's to say he won't be able to stop it? Deku heads to the lunchroom with his friends, and he is congratulating on his win. Deku smiles as he's feeling very good right now, but also kind of feels bad for Ida because he wanted to be a class representative as well. But Ida will say even he voted for him, which is shocking to him, but Deku will learn Ida thinks he's the most qualified, and Deku thanks Ida for this. All of a sudden, Deku's spice senses tingle, and then there is an alarm in the building, and everyone freaks out because they do not know what is going on. Deku will then spring into action, and like a true hero, he's able to guide all of his classmates out of the building and into the nearest exit. Deku will be praised and realizes maybe he is qualified for this after all. Deku though wonders what triggered everything, and people will hear it was from some media member. Deku remembers having to deal with those people as they just want to talk about All Might, and Aizawa did not want to have any of that, so it makes sense. Then he realizes that there's no way that that could be the case because a media member would not have triggered his spice senses the way that it did. So there has to be something more to this, but Deku does not know what it is. The day will pass, and Deku will spend all his time thinking about all that happened today, and even when he goes home, he's still thinking about it. He thinks about talking to his mom or aunt about it, but he doesn't want them to worry about a potential villain attack, especially if he could be wrong. Then that feeling that something bad is coming comes back to him, and wonders if that today things are going to start to get worse for him. Meanwhile, with Kazumi, he finishes his hibernation after less than a day, which impresses Kingpin, and he will say, "Congratulations, Kazumi, your hibernation is complete, and you completed it in less than 1 day. How do you feel?" Kazumi will say, "Great! And while I was in there, I was thinking about a name for myself. I wanted a name I felt that could stand out, and this name is perfect because of the quirk I contain. I am no longer Kazumi. I am Electro." Kingpin will say, "Good name. I think it suits you perfectly." Electro will say, "Thank you. It is also a way for me to abandon my past. Kazumi was weak. I am not." Kingpin will smile and say, "Well, Electro, go out and test your newfound power." Electro will say, "Gladly," and then will leave the building ready to cause some chaos. Meanwhile, Deku cannot sleep at the moment because he is still bothered by everything that happened today. He decides to check on his phone again, and we'll see an update to that story he read earlier, that the teen is now a prime suspect in the murder of his own parents because after the police talked to his school, they learned that the day before he had used a quirk that was similar to the one that killed his parents, which shocks Deku. Deku doesn't want to believe someone could just murder their own parents like that. There has to be a mistake here. Deku does not have time to think about that though, as all of a sudden, there's an explosion in the city. Deku will see this and will think that a hero can definitely deal with this. He decides to get up and turn the news as he is curious about what is going on. Deku will then see on the news an electric guy. That must be the villain he was reading about. He sees Mount Lady try to deal with him, but to Deku's shock, she is defeated very easily. Then Endeavor will come in as backup to Mount Lady, and to his shock, and Deku's as well, he gets thrown around very easily by this electric villain. Endeavor's the number 2 hero, and this guy is defeating him with ease. Deku's just stunned. Deku then thinks back to what Uncle Ben said. With great power comes great responsibility. Deku might have the power to turn this around, but should he really do this? Because he would just be acting like a vigilante. Deku wrestles with these thoughts, but will then see the villain fire off a electric beam at the reporters, and the camera will cut out. Deku then sees a helicopter trying to stay up in the air, but is going to come down, and then Deku realizes that no hero at the moment is doing anything. He cannot just sit back as potential innocents lose their lives. Deku decides he has to use his power and use it to help the heroes and stop this villain. Deku will put on his costume very quickly and gets to work. Deku will slingshot his way to the helicopter using his webs and will quickly stick the helicopter to multiple buildings to stop it from crashing. The villain is shocked. Who is this guy? The villain will say, "Who are you?" Deku will say, "My name is Spiderman, and I'm your opponent now." The villain will fire up a ball of blue electricity and fire it towards Deku, and the battle will begin. Who will win? Find out in the next part. Thank you all for watching part 3 of What If Deku Had Spiderman's Powers. I really enjoyed writing this, I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoyed writing this so much because I feel like I did a lot of great things in this part. And I really love how I introduced Electro into the story. And again, I'm going to introduce other villains pretty soon into this universe, I guess, and tune in to find out what villains I introduce next as I continue this series. In terms of other videos coming up, again, Legacies Chapter 17 for 19, What If Naruto's Half Yuga Half Uchiha Part 2, and some other stuff in between that I mentioned earlier on in the vid. Anyways, watch my community tab like a hawk, that is really important, and follow me on Twitter for whenever I get notified my videos, as well as some funny stuff on there because, you know, I do post some funny stuff over there. And also follow me there because I'm very close to 1,000 followers. Follow me on Instagram for just memes and some other stuff, as well as the fact that I don't know, you like me and you want me to hit 1,000 followers, so follow me on Instagram, @anime_stage4, and finally join my Discord server, which is linked down in the description for yet another way to get notified from my videos, as well as the ability to interact with me directly, and also you guys get to suggest to me ideas directly in my Discord server, because I do kind of, you know, lurk there and look at some ideas that you guys suggest to me. So I don't know, maybe you can join Discord server and you can again suggest me ideas that you all really like and you want to suggest to me, and I might do those in the future. So again, join my Discord server, and also it's a fun server in general, so join my Discord server and follow me on Twitter @anime_stage4 and Instagram @anime_stage4. Shout out to our patrons, their names on screen, and my $50 patron Anguish, and my $30 patron Nashu. And if you want to support me further and get rewards to just shoutouts like these, go to my Patreon, which is linked in the description. And again, follow me on Twitch because I again stream my podcast over there as well. Let's get to 34K. We're actually getting pretty close. And yeah, that's all I have to say. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and share the video. And this has been your boy, the Anime Sage, signing out. Peace, YEEHAW. Sammy Shea, close us out. Bye-bye. Peace.
Hi, this is Stephanie Shea, voice actress for Sailor Moon, Hinata, Orihime, and you are watching Anime Sage.